I am Ahmed El Mansour, known as al-Dhahabi, the Golden One. I stand before you as the man who led Morocco to its golden age during my reign from 1578 to 1603. Born in Fez in 1549, I was the fifth son of Sultan Mohammed ash-Shaykh, the founder of the Saadian Dynasty, and my mother was Lala Masuda. My life story is one of trials, exile, victory, and glory. Let me share with you the journey that took me from a young prince to becoming the most powerful sultan Morocco had seen in generations. I was only 8 years old when tragedy struck our family. My father, the great Mohammed ash-Shaykh, was assassinated in 1557. This terrible event changed everything for me. My older brother, Abdallah al-Ghalib, took the throne, but his ambitions were dangerous for his brothers. I had to flee my homeland with my brother Abd al-Malik. Our exile lasted 17 long years, 17 years away from the land I loved. We found shelter within the Ottoman Empire, living in Algiers and Constantinople. Though difficult, these years were not wasted. I received excellent training in military tactics and studied the Ottoman ways of governing. I watched closely how a vast empire operated, learning lessons that would serve me well in the future. During this time, I continued my education, which had begun in Morocco with studies of Islamic theology, law, poetry, mathematics, astronomy, and many other subjects. Knowledge is power, and I was determined to gather as much of it as I could. In 1576, after almost 2 decades in exile, my brother Abd al-Malik and I finally returned to Morocco. The moment of our return filled me with hope and determination. I could feel destiny calling. But the true turning point in my life came in 1578. That year, the young Portuguese king Saadian I, filled with crusading zeal, invaded our land. He supported a deposed Saadian prince against my brother Abd al-Malik, who was now sultan. The Portuguese king brought a large army, thinking he could easily conquer us. On August 4, 1578, our forces met the Portuguese in battle at Wadi al-Makhazin. This became known as the Battle of the Three Kings, for on that single day 3 kings lost their lives: the Portuguese King Saadian, the deposed Moroccan prince, and sadly, my brother Abd al-Malik. I led our troops to a stunning victory over the Portuguese forces. Their army was destroyed and many nobles were captured. The ransoms paid for these captives filled our treasury with wealth. This victory was so complete, so overwhelming, that I took the title al-Mansur, the victorious. Some also called me al-Dhahabi, the Golden One, because of the gold that flowed into Morocco from my conquests. With my brother's death on the battlefield, I became sultan. I was 29 years old, and before me lay the challenge of building a strong and prosperous Morocco. My first task was to strengthen my control over the country. I reorganized the government, making it more centralized. Important officials received land grants and tax exemptions to ensure their loyalty. I created a land registry to improve tax collection, filling the state treasury. I strengthened the Makhzin, our central government, giving it more power and better organization. I understood that a strong army was essential. The battle against Portugal had shown me the importance of modern weapons and tactics. I built factories to produce our own weapons and constructed fortresses throughout the kingdom. My personal guard included soldiers trained in Ottoman style, and I maintained a force of spies to keep me informed of any threats. Under my rule, Morocco's economy flourished. I gave special attention to sugar production, establishing royal sugar mills in places like Massat, Taroudant, and around Agadir. This sweet treasure became one of our most valuable exports. We traded sugar with European powers in exchange for weapons and other goods. I also made sure we controlled the Saharan oases and salt mines, which were crucial for trade across the desert. My vision for Morocco extended beyond our traditional borders. In 1583, I sent forces to annex several Saharan oases, including Tuat, Juda, Tamantit, Tabalbala, Orgla, Sabit, and Takorarin. The next year, we brought Chinguetti, in what you now call Mauritania, under our control. These conquests secured important trade routes across the desert. But my greatest military achievement was still to come. I had set my eyes on the wealthy Songhai Empire to the south. Their gold mines beckoned, and I knew that controlling the trans-Saharan trade routes would bring enormous wealth to Morocco. In October 1590, I sent an army of 4,000 men across the vast Sahara Desert under the command of Judar Pasha. Many thought it was impossible to march an army across such harsh terrain, but I had planned carefully. My soldiers carried modern firearms, giving them an advantage over the Songhai forces. In early 1591, my army met the much larger Songhai force at the Battle of Tondibi. Despite being outnumbered, my troops' superior weapons won the day. We captured Timbuktu, Jenne, and Gao, the jewels of the Songhai Empire. For the first time, a North African power had conquered lands across the Sahara. The gold from these territories flowed north to Morocco, filling our treasuries and allowing me to fund ambitious projects. Being a wise ruler means knowing how to deal with other powers. The Ottoman Empire was the greatest Muslim power of our time, and they wished to add Morocco to their growing empire. When I first took the throne, I acknowledged Ottoman suzerainty as my predecessor had done. But I quickly showed my independence by minting my own coins and having the Friday prayers said in my name, not the Ottoman Sultan's. In 1581, I even went so far as to trample the symbol of Ottoman authority underfoot. When the Ottomans threatened attack, I sent rich gifts to Constantinople while maintaining my actual independence. By 1587, feeling secure in my position, I stopped sending regular payments to Sultan Murad III. Near the end of my reign, I proclaimed myself Caliph, directly challenging Ottoman claims to lead the Muslim world. I was equally skillful in dealing with the Christian powers of Europe. I developed friendly relations with England's Queen Elizabeth I. In 1600, I sent my secretary Abd el-Wahid bin Masoud as ambassador to her court to discuss an alliance against Spain. We developed trade with England, exchanging our sugar for fine English cloth and firearms. Despite religious differences, I maintained diplomatic contacts with Spain as well. Spanish translators worked at my court, gathering information about European affairs. I even discussed possible joint military operations with the Spaniards. French doctors served at my court, showing my openness to European medical knowledge. I understood that a great ruler must not only be a warrior but also a patron of culture and learning. My own education had given me a deep appreciation for knowledge. I was passionate about books, calligraphy, mathematics, and mystical texts. At my court, I gathered scholars, writers, and artists, creating a vibrant intellectual atmosphere. I ordered the building of schools and scientific institutes. I encouraged the pursuit of science and literature and worked to reduce illiteracy in my realm. I wrote works on politics, religion, and poetry myself. My book on politics was called Kitab al-Ma'arif fi Kull ma tahtaj ilayhi al-Khalaif, and I also wrote religious works like Al-Adiyah or Al-Aud Aḥmad. The crowning achievement of my architectural vision was the magnificent Badi Palace in Marrakech. Construction began shortly after my victory over the Portuguese in December 1578 and continued until 1593 or 1594, with some work continuing until 1603. Badi, the incomparable, was truly a wonder, reflecting the glory and power of Morocco under my rule. I used it to receive foreign ambassadors and to host lavish celebrations that displayed the wealth and sophistication of my court. I also restored Marrakech as the capital city, returning it to its former glory. I ordered the strengthening of fortifications at Larache and Fez, incorporating European military architectural ideas to make them more effective against modern weapons. In my personal life, I married Lala Mahala bint Omar al-Marine and Lala Aisha bint Abu Bakr al-Shabani. My sons included Zidan al-Nasir and Abu Faris Abdallah, who would fight for power after my death. When meeting with foreign diplomats, I would wear traditional white Moroccan clothing with a turban, proudly displaying our cultural heritage rather than adopting foreign styles. As my reign progressed, I began to see myself as more than just the Sultan of Morocco. I nurtured the ambition to become Caliph, the leader of all Muslims. Though some historians have called this dream imaginary, it shaped my policies and how I presented myself to the world. My reign brought Morocco to heights of power and influence it had rarely known before. We stood independent between the Ottoman Empire to the east and the Christian powers of Europe to the north. Our influence extended south across the Sahara into West Africa. Our economy prospered, our culture flourished, and our military was respected. Yet even the mightiest ruler cannot overcome death. In August 1603, while in Fez, I contracted the plague. On August 25, 1603, I breathed my last. Some spread rumors that my son Zidan had poisoned me, but there is no truth to these tales. I was buried in the Saadian tombs in Marrakech, where my remains rest to this day. After my death, my sons fought for power, and the dynasty I had brought to its peak began to decline. The control over territories across the Sahara was lost by 1620. The vast treasury I had built up was gradually depleted. Yet my legacy lived on in many ways. The palaces and fortifications I built stood as reminders of Morocco's golden age. The administrative systems I created helped shape the modern Moroccan state. The story of my conquest of Timbuktu became legendary. Most importantly, I had shown that Morocco could stand proud and independent among the great powers of the world. I was a man of my time, a ruler who used both force and diplomacy to achieve his goals, who valued knowledge and beauty alongside military might, who dreamed of uniting the Muslim world under his leadership. I combined traditional Islamic learning with an openness to new ideas and technologies from Europe. I was both a warrior and a builder, a conqueror and a patron of the arts. The wealth that flowed into Morocco during my reign allowed me to undertake ambitious projects that transformed the kingdom. The sugar industry I developed became a crucial part of our economy. The military reforms I implemented made our army one of the most effective in North Africa. The scholars I patronized kept alive the flame of learning and culture. When I look back at my life, I see a journey from exile to glory. I was forced to flee my homeland as a boy, spent my youth in foreign lands, and returned to lead my people to victory against foreign invaders. I extended Morocco's borders, filled its treasuries with gold, built magnificent palaces, and made its name respected from England to West Africa. I ruled during a time of change and challenge. The Ottoman Empire was expanding westward, European powers were growing stronger, and traditional trade routes were being disrupted by new sea routes. In this complex world, I navigated with skill and determination, always seeking advantage for Morocco. My conquest of Timbuktu and the Songhai Empire stands as perhaps my most daring achievement. To send an army across the Sahara was considered impossible by many. Yet my forces not only crossed the desert but defeated a much larger enemy and established Moroccan control over a vast territory. The gold from these conquests earned me the name al-Dhahabi, the Golden One. Badi Palace, though now in ruins, still speaks to the magnificence of my reign. It was one of the most splendid buildings in all of Africa and the Islamic world, a fitting symbol of Morocco's power and wealth under my rule. I was known for my deep Islamic learning, but also for my political skill. I could be ruthless when necessary, yet also showed wisdom in governance. I understood the importance of both military strength and diplomatic maneuvering. I knew when to fight and when to negotiate. The Battle of the Three Kings, where I gained both a throne and the title al-Mansur, the victorious, changed the course of North African history. Portugal's power was broken, and their young king lost. This victory gave Morocco breathing space from European aggression and provided the wealth that funded many of my later achievements. I worked to strengthen the central authority of the state, reducing the power of local leaders who might challenge the Sultan. I appointed loyal officials and granted them lands to secure their support. I established a land registry to improve tax collection. These reforms made Morocco more unified and the Sultan more powerful. Education was always important to me. From my own youth, I had been taught theology, law, poetry, grammar, mathematics, astronomy, and many other subjects. As Sultan, I sought to expand educational opportunities in my realm, founding schools and encouraging learning. I was a skilled diplomat who understood the complex balance of power in the Mediterranean world. I maintained Morocco's independence by playing European powers against each other and by carefully managing relations with the Ottoman Empire. When it served our interests, I was willing to work with Christian states despite religious differences. Trade flourished under my rule. Moroccan sugar was exported to Europe, and we controlled important trans-Saharan trade routes. The wealth generated by this trade funded my military campaigns and building projects, creating a cycle of prosperity. My court was known for its splendor and intellectual atmosphere. I gathered around me not only political and military leaders but also scholars, poets, and artists. I valued knowledge and beautiful things, collecting books and sponsoring architectural masterpieces. I left a complex legacy. While some historians focus on my military achievements and the prosperity of my reign, others take a more critical view of certain aspects of my rule. All agree, however, that my time on the throne marked a high point for the Saadian dynasty and for Morocco itself. As I reflect on my life story, I am proud of what I accomplished. From a prince in exile to the most powerful ruler in North Africa, my journey was filled with challenges overcome and victories won. I expanded Morocco's borders, defended its independence, enriched its treasury, and enhanced its cultural life. I navigated the dangerous waters of international politics with skill and foresight. I am Ahmed El Mansour, al-Dhahabi, the Golden Sultan who led Morocco to its golden age. Though I died in 1603, my achievements live on in the history of my beloved country. The palaces I built, the reforms I instituted, the battles I won, all these are part of Morocco's heritage. Even in ruins, Badi Palace testifies to the glory of my reign. The story of my army crossing the Sahara to conquer Timbuktu continues to inspire awe. I faced challenges that would have defeated a lesser man, but through determination, intelligence, and courage, I transformed those challenges into opportunities. I used the wealth gained from the Portuguese captives after the Battle of the Three Kings to fund ambitious projects. I turned the threat of Ottoman expansion into a chance to assert Moroccan independence. I saw in the weakened Songhai Empire an opportunity to extend Moroccan influence southward. The world I lived in was rapidly changing. New powers were rising, old ones falling. Trade routes were shifting. Religious conflicts were reshaping political alliances. In this turbulent environment, I provided strong leadership that kept Morocco independent and prosperous, respected by friends and feared by enemies. This is my story, the tale of Ahmed El Mansour, who rose from exile to become the Golden Sultan, who led Morocco to victory and glory, who built palaces and conquered empires, who made his nation a player on the world stage. My life was one of struggle and triumph, of vision and achievement. Though centuries have passed, I hope that my story can still inspire those who hear it today.